Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts says the Road Accident Fund's current board is working illegally. It's after its term expired and the new board is yet to be appointed. We're joined in studio now by the Deputy Transport Minister Lisa Mangcu. Mr. Mangcu, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Firstly, we have to reflect on this visit by MPs to the office of the Road Accident Fund last week. They were appalled, to say the least, describing what they saw as a national disaster, saying that the RAF is an accident, a train wreck waiting to happen.
Well, good evening, Kathy, and thank you for the opportunity. Good evening to your viewers. Yes, those were the comments that were made by the Standing Committee, Scopa, and fortunately I was there with them. It's difficult to disagree with what they were saying, given the state of the offices, the institution itself, the morale that is there, and the everyday visit by the sheriff to those offices. It's an undesirable state. Yes.
Minister, this falls under your portfolio as the Transport Department, so you unfortunately can't opine on the state of affairs as somebody who is a decision maker and can influence that state of affairs.
We certainly accept that, but remember that all the entities, not excluding Road Accident Fund, is established in terms of the Companies Act. There is a board that is appointed which has got fiduciary responsibilities, and they are accountable in terms of the Companies Act for whatever happens there. Now, as a ministry, as a minister and a deputy minister, as I represent the ministry, there are things that we cannot go overboard and interfere with the job of the board itself.
Such as?
Such as telling them what to do in terms of the CEO, for instance. We get a lot of complaints that the CEO has done this and that or the other. It is the job of the board, because the CEO is appointed by the board, and therefore they take full responsibility. Their day-to-day running of the organization is their responsibility.
Doesn't the ministry appoint the board?
It is the minister, yes, appoints the board.
Yes, and who is... So that means that as a stakeholder, that board is accountable to the minister.
Of course, yes.
So how then can you talk about an institution that is dysfunctional to the point where MPs can be as appalled as they were? You say you don't agree with that opinion, but you have in place a board that is approved by the minister, supposed to be accountable to the minister, and seemingly that is not taking place.
Well, I said I find it difficult to disagree with them. In other words, I agree with their opinion of what they found. So I'm not disagreeing with the comment that Scopa made.
Yes.
And the distinction I'm making is that the minister or the ministry cannot run the Road Accident Fund whilst there is a board. The issue at hand, which is something that Scopa raises, is that the board is not doing its job. They say the board is illegal, in fact, because its term has expired. And it is a matter of interpretation of whether there is an extension that the board was given, and the board is therefore in that extension while we are recruiting.
But all of these things are things that you as the Transport Department are aware of and have been aware of. Because the other thing that Scopa highlights is the fact that not only do you have a management at the Road Accident Fund that treated MPs with disdain, something which you later apologized to MPs for, but you also have a board that has a ministry, rather, by way of the Transport Minister, that has failed to give Scopa reasons within a set deadline for why that board is still in place or even should not be removed from its positions.
Well, that is not what Scopa had asked for on the 19th of March, if I remember well. They had asked for a road map as to what the department is going to do to replace the board and to do all the other things that they were questioning. Others they had asked there. And yes, the ministry couldn't respond on time, which is something that we are correcting. It would appear to have been a communication breakdown. But the process is that an advertisement went out, applicants were received. The ministry was not satisfied, and the department, of the quality of the people who had put up their hands to get into the board. Now, rather than just put anybody, whilst there is still this window of this board being extended, the argument from Scopa is that there is no provision for race. Hence, I said it's a matter of interpretation. So the process that we are doing now is to fast-track that re-advert and then make sure that we get the right people. If need be, go and headhunt the right resources.
If one looks at what Scopa is saying, there is a sense that there is no urgency from the Transport Department when it comes to addressing this matter around the Road Accident Fund. And they, in fact, go as far as saying that for as long as this board remains in place, then they are to believe that the ministry is complicit in the dysfunction at that institution by virtue of simply not having already changed the board.
Of course, at the end of the day, if we do not fill in those board positions or replace them in the time within which we have, I would agree with them. But there is a process to be followed. When appointing a board, you have to follow certain prescripts. You must advertise, you must interview, you must do security checks of these people, even qualification checks. So you can't just pick them up in the street. But
are you saying that you weren't aware of the fact that the period for the current board was going to expire?
No, we were aware. That is why the previous minister extended the board period, which is still valid as we speak now. However, Scopa is saying that extension should not have happened. That's the point I'm saying. It's a matter of interpretation of the law. Could it have been extended? Could it not have been?
Ultimately, you're dealing with a board that is presiding over a dysfunctional entity, and a board that clearly has failed in its fiduciary duties when it concerns the state of affairs at the Road Accident Fund. So whether by virtue of expiration of term or just inability to do what they've been put in those positions to do, this board doesn't deserve to be a board right now.
We cannot disagree with that. Hence, we are doing the process of recruiting a new board.
What's the deadline you've given yourselves?
We've given ourselves till the end of July that we should have a new board in place.
What happens in the meantime? Because this board obviously is walking into a ticking time bomb. We're looking at a road accident fund that, if it continues on its current financial trajectory, will very soon be knocking on government's door asking for a bailout.
I don't think it will get to that extent. What we have now is a board that has got its time in referee's optional time. We are fast-tracking the process of recruiting a new board. We are meeting the board in its current form and the executive regularly. Tomorrow I'm meeting them at 9 o'clock. So we will continuously be meeting them to make sure that the wheels don't fall in a way. So while we acknowledge that, yes, there are challenges, we won't sit here and say there are no challenges in the Road Accident Fund. And they come for years. But we are certainly correcting them.
There have also been calls for a forensic investigation to be done, particularly off the back of what employees have had to say about the state of the institution, describing what they see as a toxic working environment, a reign of fear that is presiding in that environment. And that, of course, also being supported by MPs who says that they felt that security wanted to intimidate them on the day that they were there for an oversight visit.
Yes, we have received those calls, but however, there is an ongoing investigation as we speak, which was instituted by the same ministry with recommendation to the President to investigate the affairs of the Road Accident Fund. So there are currently investigations happening there. So establishing another forensic report on top of the SIU, is it necessary? I'm not sure. It might well be. However, the SIU...
The point is that in spite of the investigations that you're talking about, the SIU, yes, currently investigating maladministration in that institution as well. The point is that we have an entity that is dysfunctional. And Minister, there has to be a sense that there is a way out. As we speak, even this roadmap around how to deal with the problems at the Road Accident Fund has still not been submitted to Parliament.
Yes, we have not submitted it.
It's about now almost 3 months overdue.
No, it's just over a month. It's just over a month. But regardless of the time period, the reality is that Road Accident Fund is in ICU. And we cannot, as a ministry or minister, go in there and run that entity directly. It has to have a board, which is what we have prioritized, to make sure that the board, in terms of the Companies Act, can be able to run that institution in the way that it is. There has been a lot of criticism from all sides of the of society and Scopa itself and the Portfolio Committee on transport in terms of the functionality of that board. So that's why our priority is to put a board, get the right people to get that entity on track. Whilst the challenges are big, but I don't think it will help us to tomorrow try and do things that will end up also creating unnecessary irregularities on our side to say it was not your space to do this. We have to put in a board which we have prioritized. We have to respond to the issues that Scopa has raised and many other issues. We have to give the support to the SIU, which is doing a job. If there is a need to extend the scope of it, hence I mentioned whether is there a need for a different forensic report while the SIU is there. But if need be, rather go back to the President and said, we would like you to extend the scope or the extent to which the SIU should be investigating. Right. And I think the SIU is doing a brilliant job.
All right.
Yeah.
Lisa Mangcu is the Deputy Transport Minister. That's where we leave it for tonight. Thanks for your time.